Welcome back to the Shared Urban Farm. In today's video, we're going to discuss sowing seeds and seedlings, or planting seedlings. Look, there are many different ways of doing these things. I'm just going to show you what I do. I've got two different ways, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do. Let's take a look at sowing seeds. So there's obviously there's many ways to skin a cat, and there's many ways to sow seeds, but I'm just going to show you what I do. So for me, it depends on what the size of the seeds are. If they are peas I find very easy, providing that it's not too warm and that you don't overwater it, because I've done that. When you sow pea seeds, then you want you must be moist, but it mustn't be very wet. And if the ambient temperature is too warm, then they rot. So it's a combination of them being, of the substrate being too wet and then the warmth. I've had like I don't know how many seeds and they just rot. And they've got that pink stuff over them, then they just rot. And it's the same with sweet corn as well. I've had that. Last season, well, that's not the summer, the previous summer. Oh my hat! I probably just about threw away 3 packets of seed. They just rotted even when I put them outside. I thought, oh, at least there, it's I'm not going to overwater them, but no, it just happened to be like that. Okay, we're going to start with golden globe beetroot. I should have sowed this so long ago, and I just didn't get the time to do it. I'm going to take a tray, one of these, and then I'm just going to use half of the tray. So let me see how many seeds there are, because I'm actually going to use the whole tray. And then I'll use my homemade compost, which is mixed with coconut seeds. Coconut core. We fill the potting in your seed mix all the way to the top. And then I'll push it down a little bit like that. So with this method, I will fill it to about 1 centimeter from the top. And they say here that you plant it 1 centimeter down. That's sort of my standard. I plant everything 1 centimeter down. So I'm going to use all of these seeds. Oh, I dropped one. And it looks very much almost exactly the same as Swiss chard seeds. This is sadly my last lot of golden globe. I love these beetroot because they're not red, they're not messy, they're not all over your clothes, all over the tablecloth, all over the dishcloth, in your everything. They're like a orangey color, and they are sweet, so nice. Look, I'll only be able to harvest these in spring probably, because I was quite late. But I noticed last season when I planted these, they were chugging along throughout winter, and in spring they just grew so fast. They just bulbed out. I had so many of them. Some of them I ended up feeding to the chickens who just didn't get to eat it. So now, let's have a look here. Have a look at this. Oh, but of course, important to label what you're growing. So there they are in the water with the pansies. And then I'll take them out after about 15 or so minutes. Okay, I'm so annoyed. Anyways, I just filmed 15 minutes of footage only for my mic to have packed up. So I'm gonna just explain to you what I did. Okay, Right, so the first thing I did was soak peas. Okay, I'll do them in that seed snail. Okay, so you just take your piece of plastic, you roll it up. Ideally, you want to have packing tape. You fill it up, pack it down, place your seeds in it, and then top it up with your soil on the top. For peas, I do 1 to 3 centimeters. That's probably 1 centimeter. Then I'll put it in to the tray with water so that it will absorb. You can also see in this one tray, it's now been about 15 minutes, and that tray, the soil is completely absorbed the water, so it's nice and damp, and I'll leave it like that. I probably won't water it again until they germinate, and then I put the other seed tray on top of it. And then for the poppies, which I was so excited about, anyways, it's winter, it's the last day of autumn today, 31st, so they are such fine seeds. I do the same thing, just put my the compost into the square seed tray. Firstly, I sprinkle them across, so then I'll put in it says on the seed packet 5 millimeters, so we'll put about 5 millimeters of soil over the top, compost on the top, push it down so that it makes contact with the seed nicely, and then I'm just going to actually put the other seed tray on the top of this one because it is moist enough, and it will wet that one as well. I don't want it too wet. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you're keeping your seeds in a greenhouse, you do need to have a fan on. With these ones, I didn't have the fan on properly because the fan was dirty. And so what you want to do is you want the fan blowing on them to make them stronger and not leggy like this. These ones are, what I will do is I'm just going to plant them in deeper. So you can see how long that stem is. I'll plant them all the way up to there. They'll be fine. I've done it before, but I should have had the fan on them earlier. And also the other thing is the light. The white stinkwood has not dropped its leaves yet, and so my greenhouse is mostly in the shade. I do have lights which come on in the morning and in the evening, but I'm going to move my greenhouse as soon as the guava tree is finished fruiting. Then I'm going to chop that tree down and move my greenhouse over there. So whenever I buy plugs from the nursery or straight from the growers, these are plugs. Let me show you. Then I normally just stick them straight in the ground. These I bought a couple of days ago and they were lying on their side. Shame. So now they're like this. They'll correct themselves. But these ones look like they've got some nice roots on them, but often they don't. Let me see where these ones are. Okay, so these ones, they have been at this nursery for a while. But my alternative is to go all the way to Jeffreys Bay, and that's far. And then, if we can get friends who are going that way, and then I can place my order, then that works great. But you can see that these ones are just stuck inside this little thing. I mean, they should have been planted long ago, but I'm going to give them a go anyways. I mean, I don't have much of an alternative. I should have sowed seeds long ago. But this is my succession planting. So what I do now is, because this is so compact, I'll soak them in a solution of compost water. Evan will try and get all the substrate, whatever they use to grow the things in, because that is now what I found recently is that it actually seems to hold the little roots in there, and then they don't come, like they don't break out of that, and then the thing just stays like the stunted. I'll show you. I've got some which were planted. They were given to me by a lady who came on the garden tour, and she'd already potted hers up. But it depends how long they've been in those polystyrene trays. Normally, if you can get them and you can see they haven't been in there too long, then it's fine. So I'm now struggling to get most of this stuff out. So what I'll normally do is I'll just leave it in there for a bit. But you can see now the little roots are loosened like that, and then they will grow out. Ordinarily, if you get them early enough, they will just start growing out into your, like sometimes I'll pot them up and into the 6-cell trays, and then when I take them out, the roots have populated that little cell. But of late I've found, because I think these are quite old, they are stuck in their little things and they will not come out. The roots just don't grow out and they just stay like this for ages. So that's what I'm going to do with those ones. So if you're buying your seedlings in a 6-cell like these, 6-cell tray, then, and if they are quite mature like these ones are, you want to actually also soak these. You see how the roots are quite pot bound? And it's these specific growers, I asked them what mix they use. It's their compost mixed with peat, which they get from Croatia, wrecking the Croatian wetlands there, and bogs and whatever, but there it is. This is, it really is an incredible mix. You can see how well these plants are still doing in this little bit of soil. But with that peat, when it dries out, you struggle to rehydrate that. You need a proper downpour. You need that thing to actually soak. So I've often, after the season's done and I pull the plant out, then it's still in its little cube. It's never sent its roots out. And then, or I see it's wilting and I'm watering and I can't understand, because it really needs to soak. So I prefer actually to do the same as what I do with those little plugs, is I will put these in the water as well, just to try and get of this peat away, and then try not to damage the roots too much. But if it's in the water, it's easier, and then just to try and get some of that away. And then if it's in this compost water, then at least it's getting some extra nutrients as well. So even if you just loosen the bottom of it, then at least those roots can come out, and then they can at least, get their nutrients from elsewhere. So we're going to be working in this bed today. This bed, I just pulled out broccoli. Unfortunately, with the leaves coming in my lemon tree, this bed is now very much a shady bed, and so the broccoli, and I think this is a cauliflower, they are not doing very well. Anyways, I did get some, but the first thing I'm going to do here is I am going to put in a layer of compost. But ideally with this bed, I would prefer to have the compost sort of on the second bend of the corrugation, but I am starting to run low on compost. So I'm going to put in about a 5 centimeter layer, which is, other people are going as low as like a 2 centimeter, just like a little bit on the top. There is a lot of organic matter still in this bed, but I just feel like it needs a little bit more fertility. Okay, so now I want to firm it down. I'm not compacting it, I'm just firming it so that there's not air pockets, and so that the roots will make contact with the soil. Let me just go on. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the mulch down now, because I find it's easier to just move the mulch away and plant into the compost, as opposed to planting and then I've got to work the mulch around the little plants. It's not too terrible because I'm using leaf mulch, so that is, that's great. But sometimes when you've got longer pieces of grass maybe, or even wood chips, it just becomes a pain. So I find if I can do it this way, then it's just easier for me to plant into. Okay, so these are my leggy Swiss chard from the greenhouse. I've potted them on and now they look quite normal. They don't look so leggy anymore. The first method is you move the mulch out of the way, and then you just make a little hole in the compost and you pop in your seedlings like this. Go. And then I like to firm it down and just bring the soil back around it again. But it's nice to have a little bit of an indentation for just to make sure that the moisture will settle there. I don't know how it would work if you've got a really heavy rainfall area, but I know Charles Dowding does this. I mean, it's not like a big hole, and eventually the soil will fall in as the plant grows, and then I just cover it back up again. I just want to also mention that this method can be used in ground or in raised beds. So even if you're planting into pots, you can always just fill up your pots with compost, and the microorganisms which are already in the soil will start to use that compost. So that's the one method. And then the next method is if you don't have much compost. So this took 40 liters of compost to fill this. Then what you can do is you let's say this is just your regular soil in the ground. Then you'll take a trowel and you'll dig a hole about, I don't know, some people say like a saucepan size. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of the Farming God's Way method. So this is sort of an adaptation of that. And then I fill it in with compost. So then wherever you're planting, you know, the plant, it's sort of just straight into the compost. I think it would use less compost. That's my reasoning. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. Sometimes specifically if I've already got stuff in the bed, then those things are growing and I just want to intercrop, then I'll maybe do this. Yeah, if you don't have much compost, then this is a nice way of doing it as well. So then I'll just plant this in here. So now with Swiss chard, these are multi-sown. So that means, okay, this one is, no, this is also, yeah, no, this one's by itself. But multi-sown means that there's 2 or 3, I mean, some people will, with certain things like radishes, they'll have up to 6, or even onions. I don't have that many in the year with the Swiss chard. This is the I think it's called Bright Lights. So it's got the different color stems, and I find if I put too many together, then they don't make very big leaves. But with this variety, it's not like a Fordhook giant. They will make those massive leaves, but these will also not, like when you multi-sow them like this, they don't make as big leaves. I mean, you'll still get a leaf about this size, but it uses less space. So you've got more plants, less space, you know, more leaves. It works. What I actually wanted to say was that I plant my Swiss chard about 15 to 20 centimeters from each other. If I was going to plant this whole thing, then I would do it equidistant from each other, 15 to 20 centimeters. Now when you're sowing carrots, I've got the same procedure here in this bed as I did in the other bed, with the compost that I lay down, and then I've got grass and leaves as a mulch. So I clear the mulch away, and then I sort of draw a line with my finger about 2 centimeters down, and then I just sprinkle so this time what I actually have done is I mixed it in with some coffee grinds, so that I can have a little bit of a more even spacing, because often mine are really, really tight. So then I've just sprinkle it like you would spices or something along, and then cover it up, firm it down, and then I put the planks over it. That was probably 2 weeks ago or so, and they still haven't germinated, because at this time of the year carrot seeds just take really long to germinate. But don't give up, don't lose heart. They will eventually germinate and give you beautiful sweet carrots over, like, into spring. it's through winter into spring because it's not so hot, and then they don't release those horrible bitter soap tasting toxins. No, they're not toxins, just bitterness. The other thing I want to mention is your brassicas. Brassicas are cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale. Kale, depending which variety of kale, you want to plant them at least 30 centimeters apart. These are baby cabbage, so then I plant them about 30 centimeters apart. But you want to do like your full cabbage and broccoli in it 30 to 40 centimeters apart. Otherwise you get these tiny little tiddly things. I've tried to maximize my space and then squish them all in there, and then it's just really not worth it. It's worth it to actually space them properly. Other things you can space tighter, but with your brassicas you want to go 30 to 40 centimeters. Now with onions, what I used to always do, and I think that's where it went wrong, is I would plant them too deep into the soil. So then if you plant them too deep into the soil, then they don't want to bulb up. Then I planted them too shallow, then they would fall over. So you want to have sort of a fine line to where you're going to plant them. I'm just trying to see how I can show you. Yeah, there's like a brown sheath that comes around, and you want to just cover that. So you don't want them too shallow that they topple over in the wind, but you also don't want them too deep that now they can't bulb out. Okay, moving from onions to garlic. I have done a whole sort of comprehensive video last year about planting garlic, and that's like a whole video on its own. Garlic is a little bit more complicated, but take a look at that video. I will put the little card or whatever they call it up for you. But even though it is June now, you can still plant. You can still plant in South Africa. Obviously, there's some places which get really, like I think Sutherland. I don't know if you'll be able to plant in Sutherland. But here by us, we are subtropical coastal region, and we do not get any frost, only in the very low-lying areas. But still, even if you do get frost, you can just cover it with some kind of frost fabric, and it'll be fine. You just got to be a little bit more vigilant. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching all the way to the end. And if you did enjoy it, then like and subscribe and share it with your friends, and I hope you have a lovely day further. I'll see you in the next video.